Welcome to this week's episode of Finding the One. Today we are talking about how we decided where to have Selena and actually how it was her that decided where she wanted to come and how to kind of look for signs of where energy is flowing and where energy is not flowing and how we can let that be our guide in life. And if we have time, maybe even get into a little bit of the birth story.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we had come back to Austin. We were living in the Jonestown house, and it was a sticky point in time because I remember I was applying for my visa, and in order to get my visa, I had to go back to the UK, correct? But if I went back to the UK, I wouldn't have been fit to fly back to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So we were essentially talking about just screwing the whole visa and then applying for a green card after. But bear in mind, I'd been applying for this visa for a good part of a year.
I remember you were really stressed up about it.
I was very stressed about the
and
visa.
I was like, babe,
it's
us. It's just going to happen the way we declare. By the way, I didn't say that from a place of it's us because, because it's you. Like once you stop praying and hoping and you just start deciding what you want in your life and you start allowing yourself to tap into that power, like what you declare happens, period in the story.
Yeah, I was stressing about it. And we got to this point where we really wanted to have Selena here in Austin because, of course, it was important that we were around the boys and we like integrated as a new family together. Yet, I think I hadn't properly expressed to you how I felt about not having Selena, my first child, like around my parents, around my family and friends. I kind of had just like buried all of that down because I knew that the best thing for the family was to have her here. That's just kind of how I left it.
Yeah.
So
your brother was even having a baby
right
a month prior to Selena back home.
Right. And so it would have meant that I wouldn't have been able to be at the birth of my brother's child as well. So there was a lot of sacrifices I was making that were kind of like unspoken.
Mm-hmm.
Can we agree on that?
100%. And yeah, we both just, assumed that the right thing for us and for her would be to be born here so that her brothers could meet her and be a part of the process.
So one day we're walking through the gym. Do you remember?
No, baby, you remember everything.
I know, I literally remember everything.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything.
I remember it so well. So the builder for our new house, the one we live in now, with the donkeys, said the house isn't going to be ready until October. Do you remember?
I do.
The house isn't going to be ready until October, so that would have meant we would have had to have Selena in the rental house.
Right.
So everything was just going wrong. It's like I didn't get my visa in time. The builders then delayed the house by like 3 months, which was kind of wild. And we sat in the car and we were both stressed out. I was like, it's not fine. Like Danny's very laid back. I, however, am not. He was like, it's fine. Like everything will be fine. I was like, it's not fine because we were meant to have Selena in the new house so that she has a bedroom and she had my brain was spiraling.
Right.
And I think that's when you looked at me and were like,
not yet.
No.
The other thing was the doctors here.
Every time we went to a doctor.
I do remember stuff.
You remember.
We first went to this doctor. Guys, I'm going to say it. I'm not being mean. But we're new here to Austin. Like I'm from California. You're from London. So like we don't have family here other than my boys. So I started asking friends around. They recommended this doctor. We saw the picture on Google. You could feel someone's energy and you could tell, wow, he looks like a wonderful guy. He was wonderful. We showed up to this place, guys. It was terrible.
I remember I was so icky sitting in that waiting room. The light next to me was like flickering, like the energy was telling me, get out, get out, get out.
It was like, okay, look, I'm going to be sensitive, but if you're here in America, like public hospitals and like welfare vibes. And I'm saying this because I used to be on welfare, so I know that feeling. I guess that's what happened. I felt that feeling, and I've worked hard to not, need to experience that. And for sure as hell, not give you and my new baby that experience. So I was very confused because I was like, the doctor seems nice, but like the staff and the people and the care, this is like a meat market. This is terrible.
It was terrible. And we waited like 2 hours.
We waited 2 hours for an appointment. And you kept asking me, is this how it is here in America?
I was like, is this normal?
Yeah.
Because like our public healthcare system, the
It's
NHS,
better, way better.
is like
way better.
5 million times better. And it's free.
It's free. Seriously, guys. Seriously. That I will say that this whole experience taught me is that the medical system in London, when you showed up to give birth and they had your medical records from the day you were born, I had never seen that in my life.
Yeah. And I was just like, what do you mean? Of course they do.
Yeah. That was incredible. Incredible. But yeah, so then that one didn't work.
So the doctors didn't work.
Then we went to another doctor.
Oh, yeah.
The chick doctor.
Yeah,
remember
the
that?
chick doctor.
It was like, we called it the chick group because it was all girls, women doctor, which is wonderful, by the way. And
she fell off.
Yeah. I was sitting there like, she felt like she was just out of medical school or something. Remember that? Like she didn't know what she was doing.
Mm.
And so what it felt like was just every door was closing. And that's when...
Well, I think you looked at me and were like, are we forcing this? I think you said, are we forcing this? Like, what is going on? It was a real pause moment. And then you said, well, what if we did have her in London? And the moment you said that, I just burst out in tears because I think I hadn't been acknowledging myself, the sacrifices I was making. I wasn't even going to have a baby shower.
That's right.
Because I don't have friends here. So who am I going to have a baby shower with? Me and you.
Yeah.
Woo. There were so many, little sacrifices that were being made and big sacrifices that when you even posed the idea that maybe we could have her in London, it just, it was overwhelming.
If I'm honest, guys, and if, for you men, you women, you partners, whatever, the thing that hit me in that moment, it was like a death in me in that moment because I was holding on so much to like, the boys have to be here for her birth, that if I'm honest, like back then, the thing with the boys was still a little bit like rocky. It wasn't the best, but I was forcing it, and I had never allowed myself, because baby, you were so wonderful about everything. You automatically just gave up, like having a baby shower, being around your mom and dad, which is huge for a woman. Alfie's birth, your friends, you gave all of that up for the boys. And I, I honestly, I love you for that. And I thank you for that. And yet I never realized that you had given all of that up. Like I was so stuck, not in a bad way. We both had just decided. It was never a discussion. Never an argument. Never. It was just, we both just like, yeah, she's going to be born in America. But what I realized in that moment was I was so stuck on the fact that it was going my way, that I never realized everything that you had to give up to have Selena here in America. And it was like a moment of releasing, because it was a moment of me seeing that the same way that that you're giving up to have her here, like, why did I never stop to think, why don't I give up to have her there? Like, and like I had a little like ego death moment, a moment of unraveling, really.
Yeah. And it felt so amazing for me in that moment to feel so seen in all the sacrifices I was making. It was such a, okay, you see me. And even if we did have to have her here, at least you've seen that all these sacrifices are happening.
Yeah.
But we ended up deciding to go home and have her in London. And I so see why that was so perfect now, because that whole period came with so many lessons.
So many lessons.
Oh my God, Danny, we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, man, a lot. Because number one, I had to break the news, not only to the boys, but like to the boys' mom, to that we were going to go have the baby over there, and like to respect everyone's, privacy, obviously. Like that came with a little,
that was intense,
guilt, like that.
Yeah.
Because the energy back then was still, it wasn't what it is today. Like today, everything is beautiful, but and I didn't realize that I still was allowing like that guilt. I wasn't in my strength or in my power, both as a father and as an ex, quite frankly.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. Because a lot of times what happens, guys, is people will see one side. They'll only see, you're not going to have the baby here with the boys. But what they don't see, when no one ever was, but wait a minute, she's the woman. She's not going to have the baby at home with her family, her mother. Like it's like something's got to give. Like what?
Yeah.
And it was rough. And then the second thing was, I was going to be away from my boys for 3 months. That was the roughest thing for me, because
that was a lot.
I hate even thinking of that, because my dad wasn't around, he's just not around. So for me, that meant a lot to me. But again, it was a lesson in seeing you and the sacrifice that you were willing to give up. And if you were willing to give it up, then that means that I had to be willing to give it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to offer that to you couples that are out there, is, to maybe take a moment and like, take inventory of parts of your relationship where you don't feel seen. Because again, I think we mentioned this in the last episode, like that carries, like that stays inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to let that go.
And another lesson I remember coming from that was when we were in London for 3 months away from the boys. It was also one of the first times I think you understood how intense it is, the fact that I was going to actually move my whole life to America and not be around my family permanently.
Yeah.
It's something I always felt unseen in with us.
Yeah.
And we went through so many discussions where I would explain how sad I was feeling that I wasn't around my family and friends. And it was like, it never really clicked until
I had to feel it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest about something. My whole life, I've been a provider financially. Probably not the best emotionally, I just admit that myself. But as a result of always being a provider financially, especially in a day and age where men are having a difficult time with this, I think I had kind of like a little chip on my shoulder, if I'm honest, And I thought, like, fuck it. I provide so things go my way. I'm not saying that I actively thought that. I'm saying that somewhere in my subconscious, it just kind of was like what I expected, you know? And so having to give up like my way and go live in London and be away from my boys for 3 months, it truly, truly, truly helped me realize like, oh my God, like you're gonna give this up for forever. And it helped me heal, and it helped me realize that if I'm gonna be in this relationship, then I'm gonna need to give up some things here, because it's just not fair to expect that from you, and for me to not offer it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we were like, baby, if we gotta, eventually we'll buy a place down there. We started hosting Awaken down there. Like I wanted to be very much a part of our life because I know how important it is for you.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of things coming up.
I can see it in your face.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the process leading up to the birth. I'm thinking about the birth. I'm thinking about postpartum. I'm just like, there's a lot.
There's like 3 shows here.
Jesus.
So let's leave the birth and let's leave that for the next episode. Like, let's talk about this period. And quite frankly, in hindsight, I really believe Selena is the one that chose where she wanted to be born.
Yeah.
Because the energetically, the doors kept closing here, and both of us had to like literally heal and let go to allow this special baby to be born. And it brings us up to the discussion of like planned C-sections. Do you wanna talk about that?
We can talk about it.
When I say that, what comes up?
Can I tell you what I honestly believe?
Yeah.
I used to have such a like chip on my shoulder against planned C-sections or C-sections in general. And I think everyone knows I ended up having a C-section.
Yeah.
I truly believe that when a child comes into this world, it chooses. So if that's choosing to be born through a planned C-section, if that's chosen to, we have this illusion that we're almost in control.
Sure.
And I remember I still am processing to this day how the birth went and how it ended up in a C-section, and how I still to this day have so many light bulb moments of how it ended up the way it did and why it was perfect and what it was there to teach me. But I had a moment, actually, it was when you were doing your like night in London.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember?
I do remember.
And we did breath work.
Yeah, and you were sitting next to Craig David.
I was sitting next to Craig David. It was such a pinch me moment. It was so funny. I was like sitting next to Craig David, who I used to love listening to growing up.
Yeah.
And we're like sitting next to each other doing breath work. Like, lol, this is funny. But it was the first time I had done breath work or meditated really and really dropped in since having Selena. And of course, I think there was part of me that was struggling to process having a C-section. And I remember her little soul, like her voice came in and said, but Jen, like, but Mum, you didn't choose. We both chose. Like, we chose together. It wasn't your fault. Like, my soul chose this too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting emotional again.
2 episodes in a row, babe.
It's the full moon. Yeah. And that's something that I have had a hard time with processing, that I wanted to breathe her out and be in the birth pool and do all the things. But had I not had her this way, I wouldn't have had the curriculum and lessons that having her this way brought. And I want to go into it in another episode because there was a fuck ton.
A lot.
Yeah. What comes up for you?
I think the same. I think that, when you go through the healing process, when you sit with ayahuasca, you sit with mushrooms, you go on journeys, there's this part of you that looks at everything and goes, oh my God, like there's this terrible system that is like out to get us.
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting here, I think like, you're right. You're right. Like we choose.
We choose.
It's a part of our journey, and then secondary, like those 3 months for me were very humbling because we stayed with your mom and dad, whom I love. But again, as a man who is used to providing and providing, I think in a nice fashion, it was very humbling to not have your own space and to not be free to do things the way that you like them done,
And at that time, you were so particular. I think it helped you heal some of your
helped me heal
particularities.
It did. It really did. Yeah. And a lot of that carried into the birth, which we'll talk about later. But all in all, I think the message of this episode is, if you're out there listening, is, whether you look at the fact that like the doors started, I think that's what we want to like get across to people is like,
right.
Start paying attention to when the doors are closing, because they're closing for a reason.
And that's like how I started the episode, is exactly that, is when things don't flow in life, there's a reason.
That's right.
And such a big lesson in this was stop forcing. And when you feel force, it's probably not right. It's
not right. No. I had in every situation in life, in your relationships, in your career, in your everything. It's so funny, but I had a friend, recently who played a big role in the company. And who had just started to, like, I could feel change. I could feel like we're about to like really make a breakthrough, but there's just energy. And then my mind starts like pointing at people. It's them. They gotta go. They gotta go. They gotta go. Casper has to go. Like, right? Like my mind just starts doing this, right? And
Casper's staying.
No, I know Casper's staying. But like I'm just saying, like my mind and maybe your mind and maybe your mind, like you start like, okay, well, what's wrong? Let me try to take control.
Which is more force.
Which is more force, by the way, yeah. And then I finally was just like, out of all the people, I never thought of like this guy, because he's my buddy, he's my friend. And it was really beautiful because both of us have done the work, and both of us, like, we came to a place where it was like, how are you feeling? And I was just like, the fact that we're asking, how are you feeling, means this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, you're right. And I go, and that's okay. And he goes, yeah, and that's okay too, and that's the kind of signals that you need to learn to listen to. Like literally, if you could tattoo this on your head, it either feels so right, it can't be wrong, or it feels so wrong, it can't be right. And you just live by that, like your life will be that much better. You just have to have the courage,
right,
to listen
and to take action.
Bingo.
To take action.
Yeah.
Despite if it's going to upset someone else, or if it's going to be deemed as immoral or wrong.
Because let's rewind, baby. Last week's episode and this episode. And let me show you how powerful this is. Say you don't tell me that you didn't like the ring. And say you don't tell me that you didn't like the proposal. And you're still sitting here to this day holding on to that shit. Are we the humans that we are today? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
My right eye would be twitching.
But that's why you guys feel this freedom, this love, this connection, because nothing's out of boundaries. Like, it's like we discuss everything. But then let's take it a step further. Go ahead, baby. What were you going to say?
Well, I felt like I was going to interrupt your flow now.
Interrupt the flow.
I'm just so abundantly aware in this moment of how many of us have lived our entire lives in force and how exhausting it is.
Yes.
It's exhausting. Like, as you said to me, imagine if you didn't say about the ring.
Right.
I would be in some way in force in this relationship because I'm not being my authentic, truthful self. So
Bingo.
some part of me has to force, even if it's an tiny bit. Like, we never really talk about the ring, but every time I look at it, I have to force a smile or I have to force pretend like I was happy with that moment.
Yeah.
That's exhausting.
That's right.
That's what leads to illness in the body.
That's right. Absolutely.
Unnecessary stress, unnecessary trauma, unnecessary shit that we carry on our back. Like, if there's anything that I'm learning in this lifetime, it's like unload the backpack.
All of it.
All of it.
Because you're choosing to carry it.
Right.
I'll take it a step further.
Take it.
It's, I was just, one of my inner circle clients texts me and she says, I feel like there's so much going on and I don't have enough time. And now look, hindsight, I see people as they join the program, I could feel where they are and I could see like where it's all about guiding you back to your heart and your authentic self. But this is an individual who I have never seen her, number one, calm, and number two, without her child by her hip.
Okay.
And so I can only imagine if that's what I see at an event, what is it like at the house? Sure enough, there's never a call that we're on where the baby's like, right? And so on one end, I get it. As a mother, you are doing your absolute best to as a single mother at that, to like care for your child, right? But guys, the only way you can ever really show love to someone else is if you honor and love yourself. And so we've been taught to like self-sacrifice, to give ourselves up. And we think that that means love. I think that's the opposite of love, quite frankly.
That is literally how girls and women are brought up, to believe that they have to be in service to other people in order to be doing their job or be loved. And we end up in roles and positions that don't make us happy, don't turn us on, don't make us feel any joy, pleasure in life. And then we lose all our power.
That's right.
And we're fucking miserable. Because we're not turned on by life.
No, we're fucking turned off.
We're turned off.
Yeah. And so I'm talking to her and I'm helping her walk through. And I said, okay, well, I have so much to do and I don't have time for anything, right? Okay, so show me what you have to do. And she sends me this list. And on the list, the top word is urgent. That's a red flag. You may think that's normal, but let me let you in on a little secret. If you ever want happiness, peace, joy, and abundance in your life, let me tell you what is urgent for you to do. Jack shit. Nothing is ever urgent. If it's urgent, it's because you're in a state of chaos. So she had like 7 or 8 things that were urgent.
Well, just to break that down a little bit further, think about the word urgent. Like when I said to you, urgent, urgently.
I'm stressing already.
Stress. Whoa, unnecessary stress.
Unnecessary. Yeah.
But we don't think about these things.
We don't think about these things. Obviously, out of love, I'm going to help her break it down. But
continue.
Well, that's what I was saying, is that this is the energy that it's because we haven't taken the time to unravel and ask ourselves, what would make me happy? A month and a half ago, 2 months ago, when we started noticing like you being at home with the baby does not make you happy, we sat down and go, what would make you happy? I got to get back on my purpose. I got to get back to work. I got to no problem. What do we need to make you happy? I need a babysitter. I need help at the house. No problem. Let's get that done. Because listen to me. And by the way, stop. I heard your ego. Well, it's nice to be able to afford it. That's your ego. And that's why you can't afford it. You can't afford it because you think of yourself as separate than and different than other people. When you realize that anything that one person can do, you can do, then all of the story of can't afford it, it literally evaporates. It's gone. That's another way in which you've been causing your mind chaos. And the reason why this is so important, guys, is because if you were to come into our home, Selena is the happiest little girl.
She doesn't particularly like strangers, but yes.
She doesn't. But she's the happiest little girl.
Because she gets to now live her purpose, which is she has someone that takes her to the park and takes her to classes and takes her to do all the things, the music and all the things that she wants to do, rather than having a half-hearted version of me. So now she has full version of me in the morning and full version of me in the afternoon. The middle of the day, she gets to go to the park, she takes her nap, and then she gets to go do something else.
Yes.
And then by the time that's done, I'm home, I'm having dinner with her, we're having fun, I do the bedtime routine, but in my fullest capacity. Not with my phone over here and her over here. She doesn't want that version of me. No. She wants all of me, and I want to give her all of me when I'm there.
That's right. And in order for you to do that, and for me to do that, you got to start being honest with yourself. Because this martyrdom, that's deep. That's deep religion. It's why Jesus is on the cross all the time. It's sending you a message that loving yourself is wrong. Prioritizing yourself is wrong. They tell you pride comes before the fall. That's a whole deeper story, but they're conditioning you. You've been conditioned to self-sacrifice your entire life. And that's why you can't make any money, by the way. And that's why you can't find happiness enjoying your relationship, by the way. Because to you, life means self-sacrifice.
Think about how that shows up in sex. Right? And this is a big, I can't speak about for men, but I can speak for women. This is huge for women, because if they are brought up believing that they have to serve other people, then how does that show up in your relationship and your sex life? You literally do the act to make your partner, your lover, whoever it is, happy. You're not even feeling, you're so out of your own body because all you care about is, am I pleasing this other person? Is this other person in pleasure? Are they enjoying it? Are they liking it? What if I move like this? We are literally performing.
That's right.
For the other person. So how are you ever meant to feel your own pleasure?
Tell them about the clitoris.
That's my favorite ever line of any show.
Located at the top of the vagina.
Well, I'm reading this incredible book, which I highly, highly recommend. And it's called Pussy, a Reclamation.
Listen to this. That title takes balls.
So I'm reading this book, yeah. And Danny comes in the kitchen yesterday and goes, a title like that takes balls. And I'm like, no, Danny, that takes pussy. That's the whole point, is that it doesn't take balls. And pussy isn't like a derogatory word, which we use to tell someone they're weak.
Right.
Pussy is power. What am I talking about? The clitoris.
Yes.
The clitoris. So I'm reading that the woman was literally designed to be in pleasure. The woman and how she differs from a man is that she has this point in her body, the clitoris, which its only function is for pleasure. That does not apply for a man, because a man has this thing called a dick that's like a multi-tool. It's like, yes, it's pleasurable, but its function is to, yes, have pleasure, but also create babies.
That's right. And to pee.
And it's a multi-tool.
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Whereas God made women with this ability to feel pleasure and only pleasure for pleasure's purpose. That's it. So the whole point of that message is that women get to be turned on by life. Women's power comes from their rapture, their eroticism, their pleasure. That is where our juiciness comes from for life, for their business, for their partner, for themselves, for whoever it is. But that is like the core of where their power comes from. And I saw someone comment on our post saying, no, a woman's power comes from her heart. Yes, a woman's heart is very powerful, but her power, like her pure essence, comes from her pussy. That's it.
This is a good episode. I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah. Do you guys like, by the way, should we just, their comments, they're like, just, from the bottom of our heart, like, I've been doing the higher self for a while.
Danny's other podcast.
The other podcast. But this, what me and you do, like seeing you guys literally, and not one person, like a gang of people say, whenever it's Monday, I get so excited. It brings joy to my heart.
Me too.
It's really awesome. It's really awesome.
And a lot of people will actually come up to me. I'm like, oh my God, we listened to Finding the One. Like, we love it. And my honest response is, we love it too.
Yeah.
We love this show.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for the support.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you for always engaging.
Yeah.
And
shall we go to questions?
Let's go to questions.
Let's go to questions.
How soon did you propose and what made you do it? Why not stay as boyfriend and girlfriend?
Well, first I want to give you the technical 3D reason. Jen lives in London. I live in Austin. And for just the pure sake of the visa, we had to get married. That was number one.
Oh, we didn't?
Well, yeah, if you were going to live over here.
Oh, full time.
Yeah, full time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now, why, how soon did I propose?
5 months in.
Yeah, 5-6 months in, something like that. Listen, guys, I want to say something. Marriage as a whole is a man-made thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you as a human being are free to do whatever you want. And most of the issues that we face as a society are because people feel and want something, but society is fitting them in a certain box, in this one called marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a marriage, things aren't working, it's not clicking, you're always fighting, and you want to get out, but you feel stuck because someone tells you you're a bad person. Then see, this is not real love, right? Now, with that being said, and this I can honestly say, the other day I posted a video about soulmates, and I had a dating coach of all things say, this is bullshit. Like, there's no such thing as a soulmate. You pick your partner, so forth and so on. Yes, because your soul has never taken a journey, because your soul has never had a spiritual moment, because you have never gone to the other side. So when you live in a world where you've never had a spiritual moment like that, yes, there's no such thing as soulmates. However, for me, in the time leading up to, waiting for us to get together, there were so many moments in my journey where I literally, spiritually saw, felt, whatever you want to call it, that we not only were supposed to be together in this lifetime, but we had been together in other lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
That transcended everything. And it gave me such a knowing in my heart that though, yeah, I could have been with anybody else or whatever, I wanted to be with you. Period. End of story. But more importantly, I think it's really beautiful when you as a human being know that you're free to decide whatever it is that you want to decide. But in a person, you find so much value, so much growth, and so much fulfillment in your life's purpose that your mind literally goes, what other option is there? Because you've never in your life, in all of your life's journeys, experienced someone that you value as much as I do you. Of course I want to marry you. So that's my answer.
I like that.
Yeah.
I just had such a download as you were speaking.
What did you have?
You know how we as human beings think that relationships are all about essentially finding like joy, love, companionship?
Yeah.
Well, when our relationships don't bring us joy, love, and companionship, they bring us tests and hard lessons which come up.
Yeah.
We then think, oh, that's not my partner.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But actually, the very function of a soulmate,
Yes.
a soul, which like your soul calls in to be your mate,
Right.
is to come with a whole set of curriculum and teachings and lessons.
Yeah.
And be it whether you view that as like positive, negative, happy, sad, blah, 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 whatever it is, it's the full package. So it was just a moment of, that's not to say sit in your relationship and be unhappy, but it's also to be aware that when your relationship isn't rainbows, butterflies, and joyful, it's okay because there's a lesson in it.
I think that's the biggest reason is that you and I, unlike anyone else I had ever been with, and I'm sure you had ever been with, our souls would call in these nasty, yucky, icky things that we had to deal with that made us feel so bad. It was like twin flame shit, like that we were like, this is too much. But we both chose to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
And we blossomed as human beings as a result of it. Like enough of those things happen. Let me let you know the opposite side. Like it'll be very rare and infrequent when stuff like that happens anymore because you're going into the hard things. So I had been through enough of that with you that I was like, there was like mileage. We built mileage, literally. We built so much, there's so much value in our relationship. I'm not going to do, number one, to find someone like you, I can honestly say this, guys, and it's not, but Jen is 1 in a trillion. Like she really is. She genuinely is. I have the best partner on planet Earth, point blank, period. End of story. And I'm not saying that from this. I'm saying that from like, once you've gone up there enough and you realize what your soul needs for its evolution, period. So yeah.
I felt the same way about you.
Thank you, man.
It's true. Even this weekend, we went through a sticky moment together, and it was funny because normally my mind goes into, like we were doing so good. Now it's like 3 steps back. And instead, for the first time, I actually saw it as it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it was painful and it was hard, but what a moment of growth for both of us where we get to understand each other on a new, deeper level.
It was interesting for me. You know, what came up for me was I had like this little chip on my shoulder that we don't argue because we really don't argue. Right. And then we fucking,
this was a fucking argument. This was the first time I'd ever raised my voice at you.
Yeah.
It felt so good.
Take it easy with that. Take it easy. But what I realized is that like, you know, like that was my ego. Like stuff is going to come up. I'm glad and I'm proud to say it doesn't come up that often, but when it does, like, let's grow through it, you know? So yeah.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Finding the One. Next week, we're going to be going through, I think, the birth story.
Let's do it.
The birth story and postpartum, because that is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I didn't do too good.
Danny didn't do too good. I didn't do too good either. We didn't do too good.
No. So,
but we can be honest about it now.
That's okay.
So we'll see you next week on Finding the One.
Thanks for watching Finding the One. Make sure that you take a moment and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Like the videos and episodes that you're watching, and leave us a comment, because both Jen and I always love reading your comments. So once again, if you're watching or listening, go to YouTube right now and subscribe to the channel to never miss another episode of Finding the One.